What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the second part of a story where Issei was the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more information. Now, let's get into part 2. Hyoudou residence. Issei. Serious? Oh Asia, do you wish to be human again? Asia? Confused huh? Currently we see ourselves still in the Hyoudou household. The sun goddess Amaterasu had just left to return to her home of Takamagahara after saying goodbye to her godson. Issei felt like his time was almost up and thought it was time for him to leave, since he didn't know how long this barrier would stay invisible to the other supernatural beings in this town. The last thing he wanted was to confront Race or any of the other devils in this town and cause a ruckus. The white-haired boy truly hoped that Asia did say yes to his offer since, even though he currently respond to her feelings towards him. He couldn't let something like the Rite of Light Eye running around, since it will no doubt cause problems later down the line, and he didn't want Asia to be put with all that pressure. The blonde girl was surprised by Issei's question, since if what he is saying is true, then she wouldn't have to be a devil anymore, which meant she could finally pray to God again. Even though she was technically in debt to Rias since it was her evil piece that brought her back from death, she didn't know if she could truly trust Rias after she was planning on doing to Issei. Plus if she rejects this opportunity then she might not see Issei ever again, and no doubt he might end up being with both Ishtar and Zest, along with other girls he might meet on his journey, and she didn't want to be an afterthought. Thus she steeled her resolve and stared at the white-haired boy prepared to give him her answer. Asia? Serious? Yes. Issei. Serious? Are you sure, Asia? Because even though I did beg Rias to bring you back, it was her evil piece in the end that revived you? Are you sure you won't feel like you betrayed her or are abandoning your new home? Asia? Nods. You are my new home, Issei-san. Issei. Surprised huh? Asia. Serious? You're right, it was Ria's evil piece that brought me back to life, but it was you who gave me a home, Issei-san. Despite hardly knowing who I was, you still risked your life trying to save me and welcomed me into your home and helped me experience what life is like to be a normal girl my age. Sad, and plus even though I can't fully bring myself to hate Rias senpai, I can't help but be disappointed in her. I honestly can't follow her after knowing she was planning to do you. Issei was honestly taken back by Asia's words, since he figured that there might be some hesitation in actually answering his question. But at the same time he was glad that she said yes to his question, because he honestly didn't know what he would do if she said no to his question. If anything, he might have been forced to extract the right eye, since he knew that type of power running around might have caused serious problems down the line. Issei. Serious? With his eyes closed Issei smiles softly. I'm glad to hear that from you, Asia-chan. Asia? Nods while smiling happily. Azazel. Curious? Oh please do tell me how you are going to be able to turn Asia back into a human with the evil piece still inside of her. Correct me if I'm wrong. The only ways for an evil piece can be removed is if the master or Ajuka willingly removes it, or it is forcibly removed through purging it out of your system, which would result in death. Issei. Serious? The same way I was able to get rid of my evil pieces, of course. Azazel. Curious? It was then Issei stretched out his hand and concentrated, in which what came out of his hand was a black scabbard with crimson red outline. When Issei removed the blade from the scabbard, what they saw was a beautiful jet black blade with a line going through the middle that glowed blood red and was brimming with both draconic and demonic energy. Everyone in the room was in complete awe of the blade, especially Azazel, since his mad scientist persona was emerging and he wanted to conduct tests on it. Asia. In awe? What is that? Azazel. In awe. Yamato eyes narrowed. No, it's not, something different about it. Issei. Serious? You would be correct, Azazel, this is not Yamato, or at least not entirely. This is the new legendary devil sword Issei DSI, forged from the fusion of Yamato and Rebellion, as well as my father's sword Sparta. This both greatly shocked and amazed the Governor General, since he knew how each of the swords wielded by the legendary Dark Knight were on a league of their own, with each of them being more powerful than even Graham. Now seeing and hearing that Issei fused them all together, the Governor of the Fallen Angels believed that not even Excalibur, if reforged back together, wouldn't be able to match up to it. Ishtar. Smirks. Impressive, Ice-kun, though I'm not surprised that you were able to pull something like this off. Zest. Smiles softly. As much as I don't like agreeing with this horny goddess, I must agree that I expect nothing else from you, Issei-sama. Ishtar. Annoyed. Who are you calling a horny goddess? Zest. Eyes narrowed. I'm obviously talking about you. Ever since you've met my master, all you've done is try to seduce and sleep with him when he was clearly underage. Ishtar. Smirks while her eye twitch in annoyance. Oh really? Like you're one to talk, since from my perspective it looked like you were trying to be disciplined by Ice-kun. Zest. Blushes in embarrassment. Ishtar. Smirks smugly. Oh yes, you didn't think I noticed. I always found it strange that Issei had to discipline you a lot despite your strict and calculating personality. I would ask myself, how can someone as diligent as Zest be able to get in trouble with her master so often? Then it hit me, points at Zest, you were doing it on purpose. Zest blushed in embarrassment. What, that's nonsense. Ishtar smirked smugly, you can't fool me. You were purposely not following Issei's orders and will so that he could touch you the way you wanted and whenever you felt like it. So by my deduction you were hornier than me. Always secretly seducing and making poor Issei grope and caress you when he didn't even have his first girlfriend yet. Zest glares while blushing in embarrassment, you have no proof. Ishtar smirks smugly, your expression says it all, if anyone is the horny goddess it's you. Issei pinches the bridge of his nose and sigh in annoyance, well, a bit pink, can you two please stop fighting for my father's sake? I don't get why every time you two meet. But if you two really want any chance of being in a romantic relationship with me, then I want you two to get started getting along, because I don't want any of the girls in my possible harem to start with each other over something trivial like my attention. If you know me, then you will know that I will not have any favorites or choose one over the other blushes. Slightly, I will treat you and love you all equally. Upon hearing that, all the girls couldn't help blush a bit from what Issei just said, though they couldn't help but also be happy that he said that no matter what he would love them all equal. This also made both Ishtar and Zest a bit embarrassed, since Issei was right, since before he sealed away his memories, he always cared for the people close to him, despite his cold and stoic demeanor. If they truly wanted Issei to accept them romantically, then they would need to learn to get along and forget about their silly rivalry, even though it would take a while to adjust. All the while Azazel couldn't but smirk in approval, since he had a few harems in the past, and to see this kid not only building not the most lustrous harem he had ever seen, but also seeing him take control of two powerful beauties, the way he did gave the fallen angel his respect. Upon seeing everything finally calming down, Issei turned his attention back to Asia, as he was about to explain how he was going to separate the evil piece from Asia. Issei serious anyway, like I was saying, with this sword I can safely remove your evil piece, and if done quickly enough I can jam the signal that the evil pieces emit so that neither Rias or Ajuka can detect what's wrong. Azazel curious, you can do that? Issei nods yes, it's actually the same magic formula that I used to help block Ddraig's signal in order to make it look like I have nothing more than twice critical. Azazel amazed, amazing, you were able to develop a spell to mask a sacred gear's energy signature so that not sacred gears with beasts dragons sealed inside of them like Ddraig and Albion to locate each other. Issei serious, well, to be fair, it's not like I can completely erase Ddraig's signature or else I wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Azazel smirk, still pretty impressive. Issei serious, well, back to what I was saying, but before I do this, Asia, I need to ask you one last thing before I forget. Asia curious, what is it? Issei serious, it's about Rasei. I know that you care about him, but remember you made the pact with him using your newfound demonic power. I personally don't know if ejecting your evil piece will affect your connection with Rasei, since something like this doesn't always happen. So it would be best for you to summon Rasei now, so that if anything happens to the connection between the two, I can hopefully take care of it. Once we get you trained up, when we leave you can re-establish your link with him. Asia nods okay. It was then Asia opened up both palms of her hand and summoned a green magic circle, and out of the magic circle came a small dragon with blue diamond-like scales and a small pair of wings. This was Rasei, a sprite dragon and Asia's familiar, which she made a pact with a short while after becoming a devil, which was a trip Issei would never forget, since when he first a young dragon, both him and Kiba were electrocuted to a burnt crisp when the entire orc was covered in cloth-eating slime. Asia smiles softly, it is good to see you again, Rasei. Rasei purrs in delight. Issei serious, okay, Asia, go ahead and put Rasei to the side while I do this. Asia nods okay, looks at Rasei, okay, Rasei, I want you to stay there while Issei-sen helps me out, okay? Rasei looks at Issei before growling grrr. It was then Rasei then trying to shoot a bolt of lightning at the white-haired boy, only for Issei with his eyes closed, stuck his spare hand out and absorbed the attack, which shocked the young sprite dragon. When Issei opened his eyes again, they were draconic slits and glowing a deep crimson red, which actually frightened Rasei, since, even though he was a hatchling, he knew he was in the presence of a superior being. Issei serious with slitted eyes, I'm not the same perverted boy that you met a while back, hatchling. So if I were you, I would show some respect towards me or else. Rasei whimpers. Asia concerned, Issei-san, you're scaring him. Issei serious, trust me Asia, it's for the best, since who knows if he might end up blasting someone that he shouldn't. Believe it, when he gets older he'll be thanking me that I scolded him, and plus, hatchling or not, he is a dragon, and as such, he must learn to show respect in the presence of other dragons, especially if said dragons were at the level of Dragon King or higher. That's why we'll be training him as well, since if you're going to get stronger, no doubt Issei will want to become stronger as well in a desire to protect you. Asia said an okay. As Asia placed Issei on the couch, she stood in front of Issei, already guessing what the white-haired boy needed to do in order to remove her evil piece. Asia. Breath serious. Okay, I'm ready. Issei. Serious, it will be over quickly. I promise. At best you might feel a little bit winded since you were just a human before becoming a devil. Asia. Nods. Issei. Serious, and to make sure nothing goes wrong in the slightest. It was then Issei to activate the left eye of darkness in order to make sure his accuracy was completely on point. But this also shocked Azazel, since he knew the legends about one of the eyes that make up the eyes of the world, but he never thought that Issei would have them of all people. Azazel, mind. Shocked. It can't be. Issei. Serious. Here's go. Nothing. Stab. It was then Issei pierced through Asia using DSI, which shocked Issei, in which he was about to attack Issei for hurting Asia. But before the sprite dragon could do anything, he instantly felt weak as his body started to glow an emerald green for a brief second before fading away, in which fell on the back on the couch. This confirmed Issei's theory about Asia using her demonic power in order to make the pact with Issei, and now that she was no longer a devil, the connection between the two of them has been severed. Even though the sprite dragon wasn't dead, he was indeed exhausted from the sudden disruption of the connection between him and Asia. But thankfully the process was successful and Asia's evil was removed from her body, and as expected, Asia became winded and began to fall, to which Issei with his quick reflexes caught her before she fell to the ground. When the blonde opened her eyes, her light green met Issei's crimson red, which caused her smile weakly. Asia smiles weakly. Issei-san, did it work? Issei smiles softly. It did, but it seems you are a bit weak for the moment, since you remember you were human before reincarnated. So you will need a minute or so in order to get your strength, okay? It was then Issei gently carried Isa bridal style and put her on the couch next to Issei, who when seeing his master, quickly went up to her and held her close, signifying that their connection being lost, he still saw her as his master. Issei smirks. HMPH, I guess you do really care about her, huh? Issei nods. It was then Issei turned his attention to the other residents that were in his home, who were Zest, Ishtar, and Azazel. Issei serious. Zest, do you grab everything that you would need? Zest bows. Yes. Issei-sama, I'm ready to go as soon as you are. Issei nods. Good. Looks at Ishtar. Well, Ishtar, if I were you I would head back to your place and grab whatever you might need, because I'm leaving. Zest surprised. We're bringing her with us. Issei serious. Yes we are. Ishtar smiles seductively. Oh Ice-kun, are you actually asking me to move in with you? We really are taking huge steps in our relationship. Issei sweat drops while deadpanning, more like saving Aniki a headache, since no doubt you bugged him a couple times in order to figure out where I was. Ishtar smiles sheepishly while scratching her cheek. Well, maybe I might have asked him 1 or 2 times where you were hiding. Issei sweat drops, and the fact he hasn't wiped your face from existence is both shocking and beyond me. Ishtar chuckles nervously. Maybe he knew that I did it because I really love you. Issei facepalms while sighing in annoyance, more like he didn't feel like dealing with your sister, since if she found out that you got killed, she would literally raise hell in order to find out who did it. Curious. Speaking of which, have you even bothered to talk to your sister since I left? Upon hearing about her talking to her sister, Ishtar grew a sour expression and turned her head, as she was not entirely of her older sister. This of course caused Issei to sigh in exasperation, since he shouldn't be surprised that of course the ancient war goddess hasn't spoken to her sister, since he was aware of their history, but thought it was ridiculous since it happened thousands of years ago. Issei sighs while facepalming. Of course, you didn't. Ishtar annoyed. Why should I talk to her? Issei raises an eyebrow. Because if it wasn't for her finding me, I would have never rescued you in the first place. Ishtar annoyed. Nonsense, because no doubt you would still have come and defeated him as well as saving me. Issei raises an eyebrow. Maybe, but the time I would have found out it would have been too late for you. Azazel raises an eyebrow. Am I missing something here? Because if I remember correctly, Ishtar, your older sister, is the goddess and queen of the underworld, Ereshkigal, right? So what's the problem between you two? Issei sighs. Azazel, if you know their history it won't be that hard to figure it out. It was then Azazel thought for a few minutes as he tried to remember the history of Mesopotamian mythology. After those few minutes his eyes widened in realization as he figured out what Issei meant and why those two had such history with each other. Azazel surprised. Are you talking about when Ishtar tried to conquer the underworld and Ereshkigal punished her for it, but that was like over 6,000 years ago? Ishtar annoyed. Some wounds never heal. Issei Sighs, and she said numerous times that she was sorry about that. After your pantheon went completely extinct with no way being able to be reincarnated, she realized the gravity of what she did to you and realized the importance of having you, her sister, to have around. Hell, even after I saved you, she would constantly ask me how you were doing and that you were okay. Ishtar? Eyes narrowed him. Issei. Sighs, look, I understand the relationship between you and your sister is complicated to say the least. I can't say I understand what either you or Rishkagul must feel about each other, because I don't have any siblings of my own. Sad, and you know just as well as I that luxury was closed to me. Azazel, mind. Curious, was Sparta supposed to have another child? Issei. Serious, but all I ask is that when the time comes is to please give your sister a chance, because, immortal or not, one day she could be gone forever, and you will end up regretting not making amends when you had the chance. Ishtar? Eyes narrowed. I can't make any promises. Issei, mind. Serious, it's better than her saying flat out no and causing a whole hissy fit. I guess she has matured since I last saw her. Issei. Serious, very well then. In any case, if you have some personal items that you want to take with you, then you hurry up, head back to your place and grab it, because I can't stay here for much longer since I'm already keeping Aniki waiting as it is. Ishtar. Serious, very well then, points at Issei, but as soon as we get settled into our new place, I call first on going on a date with you. Issei. Serious, if it makes you get your things faster then so be it. Zest Asia. Shocked, what? Ishtar. Smiles happily, yay, waves at Zest and Asia. Sorry Zest Asia, but you gotta be a lot quicker than that if you want to get ahead of me. With that said, Ishtar opened a magic circle back to her apartment, in which she left to grab the remainder of her things. Upon seeing that Asia was still too exhausted to get up from the evil piece being removed, he turned to Zest so that he could gather all of Asia's belongings to help save time. Issei. Serious, Zest. Zest. Serious, yes, Issei Sama. Issei. Serious, I want you to gather all of Asia's belongings and place them into a pocket dimension. As you can guess, she is coming with us. Zest. Bows respectfully by your command, Issei Sama. As Zest went upstairs to gather Asia's belongings, his attention turned to the only remaining person that was still in his home. Issei. Serious, if you don't have any more questions, Azazel, then you might as well just leave. Azazel. Serious, I will, once you answer a couple questions for me. Issei. Sighs, fine, walks over to the kitchen and takes a sit. Ask your questions. Azazel. Serious, first question, your seals. Now if I remember correctly, one of my underlings killed you when she was supposed to just observe you and possibly convince you to come over to our side. Issei. Serious, I guess there must have been some miscommunication. What are you getting at, Azazel? Azazel. Serious, well, I would have thought that someone as smart as you would make a fail-safe within your seals, so that if your life was in any way in danger, then they would instantly be undone, and you would not have your memories, but you would also not be in the service of Rias Gremory. Issei. Serious, you would be correct, Azazel, and that both me and Godfather did place fail-safe that if I was mortally wounded before my mortal life was up, that the seals would instantly be undone. But you could say that Rias Gremory was quick on her feet and had luck on her side in this instance. Azazel. Raises an eyebrow, how so? Issei. Serious, as I was laying there dying, my seals were in the process of being undone, but before my seals could completely be undone, Rias Gremory arrived. Since I possessed a powerful sacred gear, she had to place a seal on my body in order to reincarnate me as her servant, completely unaware that my seals were being undone, but it was enough for me to unlock the boosted gear at such a rapid rate. Azazel. Serious, so in other words she. Issei. Serious, in this case she did the equivalent of placing duct tape on a leaking pipe, yes. Azazel. Serious, I see about what you did with Asia before you removed her evil piece, your eye, you possessed the right eye of darkness. Which makes your mother an Umber witch and you essentially an Umber warlock, correct? Issei. Serious, yes, my mother was the last and questionably the most powerful of the Umber witches. I believe that you and the rest of the supernatural called her the Witch of Time, if I'm correct. Azazel. Shocked, you mean the witch whose affinity for time magic far surpasses the Ager's family, you're her son. Issei. Smirks, HMPH, yes. Azazel. Rubs his forehead, geez, forget about having Sparta's blood in your veins, just you having her blood running through your veins already makes you a possible huge asset amongst the devils, especially amongst those in the Ager's household, since half-breed or not, a child between you and the current heiress of the Agers could have the power to literally rewrite history if they so wanted to. Issei. Serious, well, no thanks, I'm not into arranged marriages unless I actually know who I'm marrying. Azazel. Serious, well, in any case, why would you keep an eye that originally belonged to the person who orchestrated your mother's death? Issei. Sirius while covering his left eye. Well, it is true that the left eye was a fragment of Mundus's power that he bestowed upon the Umbra Witches in order to have loyal followers in the human realm. The only reason why I was able to receive this power was because of Mother whose blood runs through my veins, and as such, I see it more her power than Mundus. When I fought Mundus the first time, he was able to take the left eye when my guard was down, but later was able to reclaim it. Azazel. Sirius, I see, that's understandable. Issei. Sirius, well, is that all your questions, Azazel? If so, you can finally leave now. Azazel. Sirius, not a question, but an offer. I would like your group to. Issei. Sirius denied. Azazel. Confused, but you don't even know what I was going to say. Issei. Sirius, like I told you before, Azazel, I'm not an idiot. Just like how I did my research on Vali, I also did my research on you and the other current leaders of the 3 factions. The eyes narrowed. You were going to ask me and my group to join the Gregory as one of your many agents like Team/Dog, so that not only you can freely study the boosted gear and the left eye of darkness, but also my father's swords. The eyes narrowed. The fact you are trying to convince me to join your faction when we just both agreed just 10 minutes ago that me being a part of any faction would cause tension in the supernatural shows that just like your promises to woman, you are also willing go behind people to satisfy your own needs. Azazel. Sweat nervously while scratching the back of his head. Okay, you got me there. It's true, you are literally a once-of-a-lifetime specimen, and I would definitely want to study your father's blades. Can you really blame me? I mean, sure, I want peace and all that, but I also want to make sure that my faction is well taken care of as well. Sirius. But that's not only it, I was hoping that you could help me with a problem I have. Issei. Sirius, do it yourself. Azazel. Sirius, but. Issei. Sirius, look, I have saved the world multiple times without any of you fuckers even realizing it, and by the time I was 13 years old I'm tired and I rightfully deserve rest. I just want to live my life as a normal kid. Let someone else do it for once. It is time for everyone to stop always relying on people like my father to come in and save the day. It is time for new heroes to rise and answer the call because I am retired. Whatever problem you may have, Vali should be more than capable enough to handle it. But that being said, Issei began going up the stairs so that he could gather up his things, since there were some items that he wanted to collect. But before Issei was completely out of view, he was stopped by Azazel, who called him. Azazel. Sirius, so are you really going to abandon everyone? What if the world really needs the power of Sparta on its side? Are you truly willing to throw away everything that your father stood for? Because if Sparta was here, he would do everything in his power to stop whatever evil that might be lurking out there. Issei. Sirius, I'm not my father, Azazel. Azazel. Eyes narrowed. I see, in that case, farewell. Issei. Sparta sarcastic. Enjoy your retirement. But that Azazel left in a magic circle back to his apartment with an annoyed expression plastered on his face. All the while Asia, who was awake enough to hear the conversation that Issei and Azazel had, a bit worried since she was concerned if Issei really was going to abandon everything that his father stood for. Then there was Issei, who just stood blankly at the spot where Azazel stood while a bit annoyed at the old fallen angel's reaction. Issei. Whisper. Slightly annoyed idiot. Scene change. Dimensional gap. 1 hour later. In the endless chaotic void known as the dimensional gap, which is the nexus between all realms, dimensions and universes, a magic circle appeared to bring 6 beings, with 4 of them being human, and the last 2 being a small blue dragon and a small bull the size of a human foot. It has blue horns, 4 spine protrusions, and 2 golden colored stripes that was being held by Ishtar. All of them encased a red sphere as to protect themselves in order to protect them from the immense pressure of the void. This was of course Issei and his group finally entering the dimensional gap after getting their things together in order to move to their new home in a completely different dimension. But before leaving, Issei left a note attached to his and Asia's evil pieces telling Rias that they hope she enjoys her new life with her new lover. Issei made the note where it was completely neutral, since he truly did not hold any real ill will towards the Gremory heiress and that she was just disappointed in her. After he was done writing his note to Rias, Issei sent his and Asia's pieces to the orc. Currently Asia were confused on why they were in the dimensional gap. Asia. Confused. Issei-san, where are we? Issei. Sirius. This Asia is the dimensional gap, an endless chaotic void in which all realms, dimensions, and universes are connected. Asia. Curious. Okay, but why are we here? Issei. Smirks. You'll see. Boom. As soon as Issei said those words, a boom was heard, and a portal opened up revealing a large red western dragon with 4 wings, golden eyes, and a horn on its snout. This was no other than the Apocalypse Dragon, the true red dragon god emperor, and the dragon of dreams and illusions, but he is more commonly known as Great Red, the strongest being in all of existence. Asia was shocked that she was in front of such a large and powerful dragon. Poor Issei was terrified of being in the presence of a superior dragon and snuggled closer to Asia for protection. Issei. Smirks yo, Aniki. Asia. Shocked that dragon is your, Aniki. Zest. Serious that dragon is Great Red, the true red dragon god emperor, and the apocalypse dragon as well being the strongest being in all of existence. He is actually Issei Sama's godfather. Asia. Shocked really. Great Red. Serious it's about time you showed up, what the hell took you so long? Issei. Sighs while scratches the back of his head I had some unaccounted guests that kept me getting here, you know how it is. Great Red. Serious huffs I see you brought that pestering goddess with you. Ishtar. Smiles nervously hello Great Red Sam it truly has been a while hasn't it? Great Red. Annoyed not long enough since you bugged me like 10 times demanding where Issei was hiding. If it wasn't for me not wanting to deal with your sister and her reapers, then I would have wiped you from existence. It was then Issei looked back at Ishtar who was casually looking away while whistling nonchalantly, as he knew that the ancient goddess might have bugged his godfather a few times, but 10 times was not what he was expecting. He genuinely had to give his godfather respect for having so much patience for dealing with her for 2 years, and had to repay the mighty dragon for leaving him such a headache. Issei. Smiles weakly while sweat dropping well I'm happy to tell you that after today, she won't be bothering you ever again hopefully. Great Red. Serious good, because one annoying overpowered brat is enough to deal with, I don't need another one. Issei. Smiles weakly right. Great Red. Grins but it seems what Ddraig was true, you finally accepted your demonic heritage and your father's power. I'm proud of you hatchling, you look like a spitting image of him. Issei. Smirks with a tick mark I thought I told you to stop calling me that. Great Red. Grins and I remember telling you if you want to be not called a hatchling, then you would need to defeat me in order to do so. Issei. Looks away in embarrassment tsk. Great Red. Grins well in any case there is someone here that has been dying to see you again. It was then Great Red opened a portal in which a pair of red electric eyes opened up in a low growl. This frightened Asia and Rasei, since they could feel the power that creature is releasing all the miniature bull huffed smoke out his nose, showing that it was not impressed by the beast's power, and that if needed to can take him down. Then there was Issei who still retained his stoic expression. What came out of the portal was a 20-meter monster with superficially lupin features. It has highly developed limbs, sharp fangs and claws. Everyone could tell from its forelegs that they were extremely powerful and could kill prey in one brutal blow. It had spikes all around its body which were mostly flat, it had obsidian black skin, which almost looked like scales that could take a ballistic missile, and it wouldn't even make a dent in it. It also had dark crimson glowing accents around parts of its body, as well as its claws. The beast had white fur on its head, back, tail, and the back parts of its leg. Upon seeing the creature in the light, there was no denying it was Issei's familiar, Huro Inazuma. But those in the supernatural Huro were known as the legendary Crimson Beast of Calamity, a beast so strong that it could possibly rival the heavenly dragons Ddraig and Albion. The legendary started to glare at the beings that interrupted his slumber which got everyone besides Asia on edge. But once the beast's eyes locked on Issei his eyes narrowed since this boy had the stench of his master who left him 3 years ago, but he looked different. It was then the beast started walking slowly towards Issei. While Issei did the same, Asia became worried for Issei, since it was possible that the beast might hurt Issei or even kill him. Asia, mind. Worried please don't die Issei. When Issei and the Crimson Beast were finally face to face the tension within the area of the gap became intense. Both of them staring at each other with their crimson eyes that both radiated power and dominance. Everyone besides Asia thought that Issei would have to fight the Crimson Beast in order to regain control over it again. But this happened. Lick lick. The beast was licking Issei's face happily like a dog excited finally being able to see its owner again after so long. Issei. Chuckles happily okay I missed you too, Hero. Hero. Barks happily woof. Issei. Smiles have you been a good boy for Zest and Aniki? Hero. Barks happily woof woof. It was then Issei started petting and scratching Hero all over him, which the beast enjoyed so much that it rolled over to its back, to which Issei started scratching its stomach. Issei. Smiles happily you've been such a good boy. Who's a good boy? Hero. Panting barks, happily woof. Issei. Hugs Hero tightly oh how I missed Hero. I'm sorry that I left you for 3 years, I should have done something so that you would have come with me. But don't worry where I'm going next you're coming with me and we're gonna make up for lost time, how does that sound? Smiles happily what do you say boy? Wanna come with me? Dia. Upon hearing what Issei just told him, Hero, he started to wag his tail rapidly with excitement that he was going to get to go be with his master again. While Asia couldn't believe that Issei had such a powerful and terrifying beast like Hero trained like a dog. Great Red couldn't help but laugh loudly at their reaction, since it was kind of a sick joke in its own way. It was then Great Red started to glow and change shape to that of a tall, muscular man with red hair and golden eyes. His red hair is kept short, ruffled, and spiked, with 2 strands of hair near the opposite sides of his head falling over his face, as well as distinct sideburns. He wears a black, leather jacket with a fur collar and a white V-neck underneath. He wears dark blue, denim jeans held up by a simple brown belt, with a silver chain attached from the belt to his back pocket, additionally with black shoes to top off the rest of his outfit. Bright red. Laughs even after these years, you still know how to liven things up around here, don't you Issei? Issei. Smirks, well I am my father's son after all. Bright red. Grins, damn straight you are. Despite being a demon he truly respected freedom, which was something that I valued highly. It was one of those qualities that made him my friend, and he put up an impressive fight that made me get almost or even more serious than when I have to deal with office. Issei. Smirks, thanks Aniki. Bright red. Serious, so are you sure you want to do this, Issei? I mean going to another universe just to get away because what that redhead did to you? Asia. Curious, how do you know about that? Issei. Serious, when I unlocked my demonic heritage Ddraig contacted Aniki and explained to him my situation. Bright red. Angry, that's right, and after I heard everything and confirmed it, I was beyond pissed off that a spoiled rotten brat like her, who has gotten everything literally handed to her, breaks someone who I see as a little brother and breaks his heart. I had half a mind to put her sorry ass in an endless nightmare and to never wake up. Sighs, but when Ddraig relayed to me on how Issei felt about the red-headed girl, I decided to drop it and leave her be, which honestly made me more proud of Issei, since he is showing the characteristics of a true dragon and not letting something like this hold him down. Issei. Serious, thank you Aniki, but yes, I'm sure I want to do this because after regaining my memories, I realized that no matter where I go the supernatural is going to keep on finding me and bugging me, where I just want to live a normal peaceful life. Bright red. Serious, I understand, and after everything you've been through and done for this world you deserve to rest, let someone else deal with it for a change. Saddened, but you know deep down you're going to have to come back here eventually and face everything and everyone, right? Issei. Sighs, I know, since not only am I the son of Sparta, but I'm also the Red Dragon, and no matter where I go powerful foes or some world-ending threat will be on the horizon, and with my father's blood flowing through me, I must act whenever said threat arises. Smirks, but I do want to enjoy my life as a normal teenager before I plan to come back to this universe. Upon hearing that last sentence, Asia looked up to Issei in shock, since she thought after hearing the conversation that Issei had with Azazel, he was planning to completely abandon their old world. All the while Great Red had a huge grin on his face, since he had a feeling that his godson wasn't just gonna hightail and run just because some girl overall broke his heart. Great Red. Grins, I had a feeling that you weren't just run away like a little bitch. Issei. Smirks, HMPH, please, like that would ever happen. This world is my home, the place I was born, and I'm not gonna let something like this be enough to run me out of my home. Great Red. Laughs, ha ha ha, spoken like a true dragon. Asia. Surprised and confused, wait Issei-san, you're not going to abandon everyone? Issei. Smirks, nope. Zest. Smiles, believe me, Asia. Issei-sama may sometimes come off as a stoic and non-caring person, but in his own way he is the most kind and gentle soul you would ever meet. Ishtar. Smiles, the only reason why he even speaks and acts that way is because he is being honest with you and wants you to become a better person than you already are, which really did help a lot of the people that he met in the past. Asia. Confused, but when I heard your conversation with Azazel-san I thought you. Issei. Serious, that was just a simple smokescreen. Asia. Curious, a smokescreen? Issei. Serious, yes, it is to make sure that no one from the supernatural comes looking for me while we both train. Asia. Curious, train? Issei. Smiles softly, well, you did say you wanted to know more about being a Lumen Sage, correct? Well, luckily for me I acquired some books from both my travels and Draig's treasury that helped explain the history of Lumen Sages, as well as some of the spells and techniques that they used in the past. Serious, but anyway, the reason why I said what I said to Azazel was because no doubt he will tell my identity to not only Tavali, but no doubt heaven and possibly the rest of the factions of my existence. I don't need that kind of attention when I'm trying to train to regain my former strength again. Going to another universe is essentially an insurance policy to make sure that they definitely cannot find us. Asia. Curious, so we are planning on coming back? Issei. Smirks, yeah, but at the same time you could think of this as a vacation of sorts, since like I said I do want to enjoy the life of a normal teenager before I suck back into this crazy world of ours. So as we're training in order to get stronger we can also enjoy our lives as normal high school students. Serious, but when we do come back I'm not just gonna save everyone's asses for free, since what I said to Azazel about them expecting people like my father to come in and save their asses when they could just do it themselves was the honest truth. So when I do return we shall be essentially a neutral group within the Shinto faction, in which we don't involve ourselves with the rest of the supernatural, unless we are essentially hired or if the task before us benefits us in the long run. This did make Asia a bit happy that despite saying that they will be essentially a mercenary group, but at the same from what Zest and Ishtar just said she figured that Issei must be doing this so that other factions or pantheons will have to work in order to receive Issei's help. Great Red smirks. Well, in any case, let's introduce you all to your new home. Everyone nods right. But that being said, Great Red opened a rift within the dimensional gap that lead to Issei and his group to his new home for the time being. But before they went in he looked over to the obvious issue, which was Huro and his size. Great Red raises an eyebrow. Kid, you may want to do something with Huro here. Issei, confused, looks at Huro before realizing it. Oh, okay Huro, time to get small. Okay. Huro barks. Woof. It was then Huro glowed in a white and crimson and red, in which his silhouette began to shrink to the point size he was only at least a bit bigger than Issei. Issei smiles softly. Good boy, Huro. Huro barks cutely. Scene change. Alternate universe, penthouse apartment. Tokyo. When Issei and his group came out of the rift they found themselves in a luxurious penthouse apartment that looked like celebrities and elite families would stay in. The penthouse was 2 floors with a fully functioning kitchen, living room, mini library, and with a pool and deck outside. Upon entering the apartment both Asia and Ishtar let go of their familiars and them along with Huro began running around the apartment as to get a layout of their new home. Issei smirks. I must say, Nikki, you do know how to impress. Great Red smirks. Well, you are on vacation. But since I didn't know how long you were planning on staying here, I thought it would be better in the long run to just buy out the building. Issei shocked. You bought the building? Great Red smirks. Yeah, I thought it was also a lot easier than explaining to the humans why you and the blonde girl are living here together. So yeah, this place now belongs to you, and with the current residents paying you to live here, you should have a steady cash flow on top of the bit of money I left for you to live comfortably. Issei smiles. Thanks, Aniki. Asia bows respectfully. Thank you so much, Great Red Sama. Great Red serious. Think nothing of it, just do me a favor and don't make the same mistake that the Gremory girl did and be there for my little brother. If you do that I might consider helping you and that sprite dragon of your. Issei mind. Serious. Can Aniki seriously be thinking what I think he's doing? That's so unlike him. I mean, I was an exception thanks to Ddraig and the connection he had to my father. What is he up to? Asia nervous. Thank you, and I promise to always be there for Issei-san, since he has done so much for me in the short time I've known him. Great Red serious. Good. Smirks. Geez, it's about time you guys showed. I was thinking I was gonna be waiting here for another day or something. Everyone except Issei and Great Red startled. Issei eyes widen in shock. It can't be Ani-san. Rising from one of the couches of the living was 177 centimeters tall and had an athletic build. His hair is dark brown and he has blue eyes with a golden cross that reaches to the edge of his iris. He wore a black jacket with a yellow fur covering gray pants and a red belt on him. On his head he had a bow that is shaped like a white metal ring that seems to simulate a crown. Upon seeing the man, Issei couldn't help but overjoyed that his older brother was here, since not only did he enjoy his company, but also the fact he would get to spar against him just like the good old days when he was training. Issei similes. Ani-san, what are you doing here? Grins. Well, Great Red called and said that you finally woke up and that you might need some of us to help you not only regain your original strength, but also help you improve on it. I thought this might be the perfect opportunity to finish your senjutsu and martial arts training. Issei smirks. HMPH, I guess that explains why you decided to drop the old man disguise. Shrugs shoulders. Well, what can I say? I get bored and being Indra's vanguard has left me with essentially nothing to do but to essentially wait for him to finally enact his war with Shiva. So that old man disguise is essentially the representation of my overall boredom. Grins. But now that you're back in action, I can finally do something to get my engines running. Asia curious. Zest Sama, who is that man and why does Issei-san call Ani-sama? Is he a son of Sparta as well? Zest giggles. No, Asia, he is not a son of Sparta, but he has become essentially an older brother figure to Issei-sama in many ways. But to answer your question, that man there is the great victorious fighting Buddha and the great sage equaling heaven, son Wukong. This shocked and amazed Asia, since she even heard of the legendary Monkey King that rebelled against heaven when she was in the church. But to think that Issei-san had someone like Son Wukong as an older brother figure. All the while Ishtar was watching the interaction between Issei and Son Wukong, which made the goddess think about what Issei told her about accepting her sister and moving past their past transgressions. Ishtar mind. Serious. Maybe, just maybe, there is a chance. Issei curious. Wait, if you are here does that mean Oji-san is here too? Great Red Serious sorry kid, I tried to call Shiva to tell him that you were awake, but when he answered he said he couldn't come due to his duties as head of the Hindu faction, as well as dealing with Indra. But he said that he was sorry for what happened to you, and he will come when has the time. At that Issei couldn't but pout cutely, which caused the females in the room to gush and blush at how cute Issei was being. Even though in Issei's perspective he was greatly annoyed because that definitely sounded like his uncle Shiva, since he remembered out of everyone in his life, Shiva was the one he had the least contact with. Of course both Great Red and Son Wukong couldn't help but chuckle, since they knew exactly why he acted this way, since despite his lack of interaction with the son of Sparta, he was also possibly the most impactful, to which he was in a way a second father to him. At every time they would meet, Issei would always challenge him to a fight, which definitely resulted in him being instantly shot to the wall, in which Amaterasu would panic and tend to his wounds. Issei. Sighs and annoyance. I guess it can't be helped. Curious, but it makes me wonder how you are able to come here, Ani-san. Son Wukong. Grins while waving it off. Oh, that's easy, I just left a clone of mine to take care of it. Issei. Raises an eyebrow. I can see that definitely fooling Indra for at least a little while, but what about Ni-san? At that statement the legendary victorious fighting Buddha's face went completely pale at the thought of his wife, finding out he wasn't performing his duties as the vanguard of the King of the Heavens. His body even began to shiver even more if his wife found out if he left to go visit Issei without telling her, since she did care a lot about the son of Sparta, like if he was actually her little brother. Son Wukong. Smiles while trembling in fear. She won't know. Everyone except Asia, mind. Raises an eyebrow doubtful. Issei. Facepalming. Honestly Ani-san, I know you're immortal and all, but when it comes to one Isan fury, even with your layers of immortality you won't stand a chance. Son Wukong. Smiles weakly while trembling. Nah, I'll be fine. Issei. Serious with one eye closed. If you say so, but whatever happens it's on you. Curious. Hey Aniki. Great Red. Curious, what is it? Issei. Curious. My devil arms, are they still in my room in the dimensional gap? Great Red. Serious. I actually moved them inside the training area in this apartment, since I thought you might want to train on how to use them again. Why? Son Wukong. Curious. I'm also curious. It was then a familiar green glow appeared on Issei's left and out spoke Ddraig with a tone filled with both interest and excitement. Ddraig. Grins. Interesting, very interesting indeed, partner, although difficult. You could prove to a very versatile and dangerous opponent. Issei. Smirks. HMPH. Well, being a pawn did help give me the idea. Great Red. Curious. Just what are you and Ddraig talking about? Son Wukong. Curious. Yeah, you know I hate being out of the loop. Issei. Smirks. Come on, you two, both of you can essentially read my mind, you tell me. It was then both the legendary Red Dragon and former Monkey King did what Issei suggested and peeked into his mind to see what he and Ddraig were talking about. After a few moments of peeking into Issei's mind, both of them grinned at what they saw and couldn't wait to see this new plan of Issei's come to fruition. Great Red. Grins. Kid, let me tell you that you are gonna be one hell of a monster when you're done with your training. Son Wukong. Grins with excitement. Oh, now you've done it, Issei. You've gotten me all pumped up now, I just can't wait to fight you again. Issei. Smirks. Well, in that case I promise to not disappoint. It was then Issei casually walked out towards the balcony of his new apartment, since he wanted to take in the view of his new home for the time being, which from what he can tell he was in this universe's version of Japan. But when he looked over to the Bay Area he saw what seemed to be an artificial island with a bunch of homes and amongst other buildings stacked on top of each other, which got the white-haired boy's attention. Issei. Curious. Hey Aniki, do you know what's the deal with that over there? Great Red. Serious. Yeah, from what I've gathered it's a man-made island to help create some weird elite academy. But don't worry, I essentially got you and Asia enrolled into another school called Kakisai Kaku High School, Metropolitan Kakisai High School. It's a public school, but it's considered one of the best schools in the country. But before I could fully finish your transcript I need to know what your name is going to be. Issei. Serious. Well, I came to the realization a little while ago that I'm not entirely Issei Sparta, but also not Issei Hyoudou as well. Even though I decided to stop hiding who I really am, it was Oba-chan who gave that last name, so out of respect for her, I'll be going by the name Issei Hyoudou Sparta. Great Red. Smirks. HMPH. The Dark Knight who became the honest soldier. I like it since it sounds pretty badass. Alright, done. You and Asia will be starting school in just a few days, so use this free time you have to get yourself comfortable as well as maybe get some training in for the both of you. Issei. Smirks. Thanks Aniki. It was then Issei turned his attention to both his group and Son Wukong, with a smirk on his face, getting ready to not only start his long grueling training, but also hopefully continue his life as a normal high school student. Completely unaware that both him and his group will have to deal with some of the crazy shit that this new world has to offer. Issei. Smirks. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm exhausted and I say we rest for tonight because tomorrow we start our training and our new lives. Everyone nods happily. High. Scene change. EXD, verse. Kuo Academy, Orc Building. Next day. It was another day in Kuo Academy, and even though it was a Saturday, the school was still open for club activities, with the Occult Research Club being no exception. Heading towards the old school building was Rias Gremory with her peerage, with the exception of Issei and Asia. The Keno Himejima, the queen as well as best friend of Rias Gremory, tried to contact Asia earlier in order to remind both her and Issei about their meeting today, but got no response. Issei Hyoudou, the only male as well as knight of Rias Gremory, did the same with Issei, but just like his raven-haired queen, he also received no response. This for some reason made both of them filled with concern and worry. Even Kaneko, the stoic rook of the Gremory group, was filled with concern, more mostly for Asia than Issei. The only one who wasn't affected by this was of course no other than the king of the peerage, Rias Gremory, who had a stoic expression on her face as they made their way to the club room. Once the group finally made it to the building, Rias decided to ask where her bishop as well as soon-to-be former pawn were located. Rias. Curious. Kiba. Keno, have either of you two able to get in contact with Issei? Kiba. Nods. No, President. Issei won't answer his phone. The Keno. Serious. I even tried calling Asia to see where they were but no answer. Rias. Serious. I see. In that case we'll have to personally visit them to see what's going on with them. Of course, once both Rias and her peerage entered the club room, Rias was greeted with something on her desk. On said desk made both her and her fellow peerage members widen their eyes in shock. On the desk were 8 red pawn pieces as well as a bishop piece, and beneath them what seemed like a note. The pawn, sensing that those pieces did belong to her, Rias quickly ran to her desk and began reading the note being left behind. Rias. Serious. Dear Rias Gremory, this is from your used-to-be pawn Issei Hyoudou, as well as the Red Dragon Emperor. The reason why I'm writing this letter is because I saw what you were planning to do with me. I both saw and heard you having sex with Zero, that you planned on trying to take away the boosted gear away from me, which would have no doubt killed me, and give it to Zero. When I found out about it, thanks to the help of Ddraig, I was able to remove pieces so that I am no longer bound to you. As for why I removed Asia's evil piece, it's because not only was it my fault that she was essentially being forced to be reincarnated into a devil, but also she is my responsibility and I couldn't just abandon her. Don't even bother trying to look for us, since not even with the help of your brother would you be able to find us, even if you searched the entire planet as well as searched in every possible realm top to bottom. This is goodbye. Rias Gremory said, and I hope you enjoy your new life with Zero, because I won't be the one to save you when trouble comes knocking on your door. It's truly sad because I truly did hold romantic feelings for you, but I guess I just wasn't one you were looking for in a guy. Just know I don't hold any ill will towards you, but I am essentially in every sense of the word disappointed in you. Despite everything I've been through as well as what I did for you, especially when I had to sacrifice more of my humanity to save you from a loveless marriage, but I guess that just flew over you when you agreed to essentially get rid of me, I guess. If this letter was read by any of the members of the Gremory peerage, I just all of you to know that even though our time was short and that we hardly got to know each other very well, I sincerely hope that you all have great long lives and maybe help reprimand your king for this blunder that she created. Once Rias finished reading the letter, she felt something wet on her cheeks, to which when she touched it, she finally noticed that she was crying. But the question she was currently wondering to herself was why she was crying about a boy who she was genuinely trying to get rid of, or did she? Rias, confused. Sad and confused. Why am I crying? Why do I feel so bad for trying to get rid of Issei when I have Zero? Realization. Wait a minute, do I even like Zero? Confused. I mean, he was only a human who summoned me through a flyer, and then panicking. Why can't I remember what we did during that week? My memory is all fuzzing since I can only see me talking to Zero, but I also remembering myself being genuinely mean to Issei about his perverted antics, but I also felt like I didn't mean to say those things to Issei. It was as if I was being forced to say those to Issei. Completely horrified. Dear Satan, I actually had sex with Zero when I wanted to do it with Issei. This horrifying realization completely broke Rias mentally, since she couldn't believe that she just casually and willingly gave up virginity to a random person that she didn't even really know. Rias honestly felt disgusted at herself, since if anything she wanted to give her first a person who saved her from her arranged marriage, which was Issei, but now that will never happen, since he now thinks she was willing to get rid of him just because he was a pervert. As Rias had her mental breakdown, the rest of her peerage stood with shocked expressions plastered on their faces as they heard what their king friend did and what they were planning to do to Issei. Sure, they understood that Issei's perverted antics nature could be a bit much sometimes, but they all knew that Issei was a good and honest person. Even Kaneko, who was very open and blunt about how she hated Issei's perverted nature, knew that he was not that much of a bad person. Thanks to her talks with Asia, she now had an insight of who Issei was at home, and even though she still hated his perverted antics, she at least knew that underneath all that pervertedness was a somewhat kind and decent person. As if on cue, Zero walked into the door with a confident smirk on his face without caring or knowing that Rias was still distraught with the realization of what she had done to Issei. Zero. Smirks Arias, dear, so you are here and I see you brought the rest of your peerage. It was then Zero looked around the room with a serious expression looking for a certain brown-haired boy before looking back to Rias. Zero. Serious Rias, where is the Red Dragon Emperor? You promised that he would be here so I can extract his boosted gear. Rias. Horrified. Zero. Serious Rias. Rias. Horrified. Zero. Annoyed Rias. Being startled from Zero's voice, the red-headed heiress looked to the man who used and manipulated her into trying to get rid of the boy who she might have a chance of being in an actual relationship with. She covered her eyes with hair and spoke in a serious and cold tone with a bit of trembling in her voice. Rias. Cold Zero, why did you want the power of the Red Dragon Emperor? Zero. Smirks, why could I protect you like I said I would? Rias. Angry liar. I have had enough of your games, Zero. Zero. Curious. It was then Rias to reveal her expression to Zero, to which she was glaring at the man who she knew manipulated her, all the while shedding tears of sadness, knowing full she might have lost the only man who could love her for her. Rias. Glares while shedding tears, I know that you were just using me to get the power of the Red Dragon Emperor for yourself. You drugged or manipulated me into not only betraying a member of my peerage, but you also Gremory family's motto to treat everyone in their house as family. You violated me, and because of that, because of what you did, the only boy who not only do I owe my freedom to, as well as the only man who truly loved me, thinks I betrayed him and is gone and will never forgive me. Zero. Shocked what? It was then Zero looked over to Ria's desk and saw the 8 pawn pieces. This of course infuriated Zero, since this meant his plan failed to obtain the power of the Red Dragon Emperor to himself. Enraged of knowing his plan had failed, Zero began to destroy the area around him by punching and kicking the furniture around him. Zero. Furious, damn it. I was so close. So close, the power of the Red Dragon Emperor, the power that killed my father, at the palm of my hand. As well as the left of eye that contained my father's power. Rias. Serious, stop right there, Zero. I don't know what you are talking about, but you will surrender and explain to us what you did to me and why you. Zero. Furious, shut it, you red-headed whore. You ruined everything. Rias. Shocked, huh? It was then Kiba who summoned his sword due to his blade blacksmith sacred gear and got into a defensive stance along with the others in Ria's peerage. Kiba. Glares at Zero, stand down, Zero, how dare you speak that way, Buchu. Haneko. Stoic, we will stand up for Buchu. Bekeno. Serious while summoning lighting, and I don't know how you know about the boosted gear, but it means that not only you know about the supernatural, but also what we are. If you know that, then there is no way you can beat us since you are human, so stand down and surrender peacefully. Zero. Chuckles darkly, human. That's what you all think I am, please none of you have any idea who truly I am. As soon as Zero said those words, he released a huge tidal wave of pure demonic energy and malice which everyone backed against the wall. It was that his appearance started to change, his hair became silvery white, a pair of white wings, a pair of large red horns, and a third eye. When it was done, Zero appeared both divine and demonic in nature. Zero. Serious, my full name is Zero Mundus, son of the late Demon King Mundus. At that, everyone's eyes widened in both shock and fear, since they all knew about the legend of Mundus and what he was capable of, and to think that a being as dark and evil as him actually gave birth to a child was unimaginable. Everyone in their minds believed that this might be their final moments alive, given that the power he was releasing meant he could kill them all if he so wanted to. Rias. Shocked and horrified, but that's impossible, my brother told me that Mundus died 4 years ago. Zero. Smirks darkly, yes he did, my father kept my existence a secret in case of an emergency, especially when he had the Red Dragon Emperor gunning for him. Rias. Serious, oh it was the last Red Dragon Emperor that killed Mundus. Zero. Laughs darkly, oh Rias, so naive as always. It was Issei that killed my father. This made everyone widen their eyes in shock, they honestly couldn't believe that Issei would ever be strong enough to kill someone as powerful as Mundus, since he was barely powerful enough to beat Riser, who was a high-class devil, and wasn't even trying. Upon seeing the denial on everyone's faces, Zero decided to tell them the truth about Issei, and not to show Rias that she possibly lost her one true love, but also that not only the factions, but also the whole world, that they lost their only hope of possibly stopping him, drowning them in despair. Zero. Smirk darkly, judging from the expression on your faces you don't believe me, but believe it or not, it is the truth. Issei was the one who killed my father, and when it was done he decided to leave the supernatural world to try to live a normal life. Laughs darkly, he even went as far as sealing both his powers and memories away and forgetting who he really was. Though I admit it was somewhat clever of him hiding in plain sight in a town that his father once secretly ruled, so it took me a while to find him, but I wouldn't expect anything less from the son of the demon who defeated my father before him. Rias? Confused, the son of the demon who defeated your father? Eyes widen in realization. Wait a minute, you don't mean that. Zero. Grins darkly. That is correct. Rias Issei's true name is Issei Sparda, son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta, and the Witch of Time Eva. Everyone in the room couldn't believe what they just heard. Issei Hyoudou, the perverted beast of Kuo, was actually the son of the legendary Dark Knight that once saved the world 2 millennia ago. On top of him being the Red Dragon Emperor would no doubt make him a being that he could no doubt reach the levels of the dragon gods like Great Red and Office. Rias was honestly shocked out all of them since she used to read the story of Sparta when she was a little girl, and a part of her dreamed of being with the legendary Dark Knight, but now that she knows he had a son and essentially blew her chance with him, she fell into a greater sadness and depression because she felt like she lost more than just her precious pawn. She also possibly lost potential lover. Though those thoughts were interrupted when Zero started to laugh darkly at their expression of finding out the truth. Zero laughs darkly. My, how pathetic you all look. Please tell me, how does it feel that you lost not only your possible one true love, but also the only person that could stop me? Rias? Trying to hold back her tears. Just why? Zero? Curious. Rias? Shedding tears. Why did you have to use me? Why did you have to make Issei think I betrayed him? Everyone in the orc were completely heartbroken seeing Rias shedding tears like that, especially Akeno, who knew that Rias had started to develop feelings for the brown-haired boy. So seeing her like this broke her, and she couldn't do anything to help her, not even help kill the bastard that caused all this. Akeno, mind. Sadano. Rias. Zero smirks. Very well then, since you're longer of any use to me, I'll gladly tell you what my plan was. You're right, I didn't need to manipulate you into getting the boosted gear from Issei, since I could have just ripped it out of him when he was in his weakened state when I found him. Grins darkly, but then I decided to add a little flair to it, you know, as a way to get back at him for what he did to my father. So observed from afar as to make sure the Welsh dragon wouldn't notice my presence and alert him, or even worse, undo his seals. When I saw how he developed feelings for the Gremory heiress and how much he was willing to do for her during his fight with the Phoenix brat, I knew what I had to do. So I posed as a human who took one of your summoning flyers and summoned you. It didn't take long for you to become my puppet, which was kind of a disappointment since you were the younger of the strongest devil to ever existed. Just a little memory spell to change how you were towards Issei, and a whiff of a powerful aphrodisiac that I got from the old Lilith faction, and you were more than willingly to spread your legs for me. Once that was done, I would have completely broken Issei when I took away his boosted gear as he died slowly, knowing that the ones who he thought loved him betrayed him. Rias couldn't help but feel absolutely disgusted at herself, since she was used as a pawn in a petty revenge against Issei. It was then their thoughts were interrupted when Kiba spoke, filled with venom in his voice. Kiba glares with hatred. So that was it, you made my mistress go through all that pain and suffering to avenge your father. I knew from legends that demons would even make the vile of devils look honorable, but you are the worst, you are the definition of scum. Zero laugh darkly. Please. I don't give a rat ass about my father. Everyone shocked. Akeno. Serious, but I thought you said you were doing this as payback for your father. Zero smirks. Yes, I did, but that was only because he was the one who brought me into the world, nothing more, nothing less. Besides that, I don't give a rat's ass about him because he was weak. You see, we demons take being on top of the food chain a lot more seriously than you other supernatural beings. It doesn't matter who you are, even if you share the same blood. If you show weakness, then you must be purged. I just wanted the power of the red dragon, so I could solidify rule over the other demons for eternity, and with the power of the left eye of darkness he had, my rule would have solidified until I found the right eye. Annoyed, but since that plan has failed, I have to go to plan B, which is honestly a pain in my ass. Smirks. Darkly. I let you all live so you could bear witness to the eventual end of this world, because when I'm done, not even Issei or even the dragon gods will be able to stop me. It was then Zero vanished in a black light without a trace. Seeing the threat was gone, everyone in the orc huddled around the distraught Rias, who began crying uncontrollably. Everyone was heartbroken and devastated because their best friend and master went through something like that, to be manipulated and violated just to get to someone who was a definite threat to his future plans. As the orc were huddling, the crying red-headed heiress, a magic circle that bore the Gremory family symbol appeared, which caught everyone's attention. Out of the magic came Surziches, and along with him was a beautiful young woman appearing to be in her early 20s with back-length silver hair that features a long braid on each side with small blue bows at the ends, while the rest is let down, which ends in twin braids and red eyes. She wears a blue and white French-made outfit with long sleeves and a white-made headband over her head with red lipstick as a cosmetic accessory. This woman was Graphia Lucifuge, the queen of Surziches, Lucifer and his wife. Both of them came quickly when they both felt a large demonic presence being in Kuo, which frightened them greatly. When they arrived, they could see that Rias was sobbing uncontrollably with her peerage huddling around her. Bravely concerned for his precious Reuniting, the Crimson Satan came up to the sobbing crimson-haired ruined princess. Surziches? Greatly concerned Rias, what happened, are you alright? Rias? Sobs Oni-sama. Surziches? Greatly concerned, yes, it's me Rias, what's wrong? What has happened to you? It was then out of nowhere the crimson-headed girl jumped out of the grasp of her peerage and into the arms of her older brother, which caught the Crimson Satan by surprise. Now normally this type of action would make someone like Surziches overjoy that his little sister was willing to jump into his arms. But this was sadly not one of those times, since he could see his little sister crying while now muttering herself. Rias? Sobs while muttering, it's my fault, it's all my fault, and now he will never forgive me or accept me again. Surziches? Confused and concerned, what are you talking about Rias? What do you mean that it was all your fault? Who will never forgive you? As Surziches was trying to figure out what his sister was trying to tell him, the silver-haired maid looked over to her sister-in-law's peerage and saw that two people were missing from the group. It was then she turned her to Akeno to figure out where they were. Grafia? Serious with a hint of concern, Akeno-san, where are Hyoudou and Argento-san? Shouldn't they be here to help comfort Lady Rias? It was then that the raven-haired beauty grew a saddened expression on her face with her hair covering her eyes so as to not show that she was trying to not shed any tears. It was then she pointed at Ria's desk where the evil pieces and letter were, which made the silver-haired maid widen her eyes in both shock and horror. It was then Grafia picked up the letter and began to read the contents of it, to which when she was finished, she was both shocked and horrified that Rias was actually planning on doing this to Issei. Grafia? Shocked but concerned, Rias-sama, were you really willing to kill Issei and take away his boosted gear? Surziches? Shocked what? Rias? Sobs, no, I wasn't. Poor Rias couldn't stop crying, and when Grafia brought up what the letter said completely broke her to the point she couldn't even form a sentence in order to defend herself. Grafia? Serious while waving the letter, then what is this letter a fake for a sick prank, because I'm pretty sure that doesn't fit Hyoudou-san's personality. Surziches? Serious while reaching out his hand, let me see that. One Surziches had his hand on the letter and began to read the contents of it. He then looked at his sister in both shock and disappointment. Surziches? Shocked Rias, how could you? Rias? Sobs, no. Surziches? Serious Rias, how could you do this to the person who literally risked his life to save you from a loveless marriage? Kiba? Serious Mau-sama, please stop, this is not Buchu's fault. Surziches? Serious and confused, what do you mean, Kiba? Kiba? Serious, Buchu was manipulated by Zero so that he could get the boosted gear for himself. This greatly confused and shocked both the Crimson Satan and silver-haired maid. But they both felt like there was more to the story, in which they turned their attention back to the blonde-haired knight. Surziches? Serious, please explain, Kiba, everything. Kiba? Nods him. It was then Kiba first explained how after Issei crashed the engagement party and freed Rias from Riser, she began to act differently, in which she started to act distant and a bit cold, which concerned all of them. He then explained how Rias got even more aggravated with Issei's perverted antics, whereas before he would get a light scolding. It was then Kiba what happened earlier, in which he revealed that Zero manipulated Rias by using a powerful aphrodisiac and mental magic to change Rias' personality so that she would be more cold and disgusted at Issei. Also that he could take the power of the Red Dragon Emperor from Issei, in which he revealed himself to be the son of the late Demon King Mundus, and that all he wanted was the power that helped kill his father. In which Kiba dropped the biggest bomb, in which this entire time Issei was actually the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta, and that he was the one who killed Mundus 3 years ago. But he sealed away both his memories and power so that he could live a normal and peaceful life until he saw Rias and Zero having sex, which infuriated Zero since it ruined his plans for the future. He then ended the explanation on how Zero arrogantly spared their lives so that they soon drown in despair as they realized they lost the only person who actually had both a chance and the power to stop him. When Kiba finally finished the explanation, both Surziches and Grafia were both shocked and horrified at what just happened. Grafia instantly felt horrible since she was willingly jumping to the conclusion that her sister-in-law would do something like that when she knew better that Rias wasn't capable of such cruelty. Surziches also felt guilty for jumping the gun on blaming his sister, but now he knew who was it that Mundus was fighting 3 years ago, but at the same time couldn't believe that Issei, who was probably only 15 years old at the time, was able to kill someone like Mundus, but was also the son of the legendary Dark Knight. But despite all of that, the Crimson Satan was more furious than anything at Zero, because dared to not only mentally harm, but violate his beloved little sister. But he needed to remain calm since he didn't leak out his power of destruction and destroy the surrounding area. But too he needed to not be the Mao Lucifer, but as an older brother and comfort his sweet younger sister who just went through something traumatic. He then kneeled down in front of Rias and brought her into a tight hug, all while gently stroking her hair in hopes to help calm her down. Surziches. Sadden, it's okay, Rias, everything is going to be okay. Rias. Sniffles, I'm sorry Ani-san, it's all my fault. I made Ice-kun and Asia leave, and now they'll probably never come back, he's never going to forgive me. Surziches. Sadden, it's not your fault Riatan, and I'm sure once Issei knows what happens he will forgive you. Rias. Sniffles, really? Surziches. Smiles softly, of course, from what I've seen and heard he is a kind and understanding person. So I'm sure he will forgive you once he knows the truth about what's happened. Upon hearing that her crying and sniffling has calmed down, both of the red-headed devils slowly got up with Ria's body still trembling with fear and anxiety. Surziches then turned to face his wife, who also had a deeply concerned expression on her face for her younger sister. Surziches. Serious Grafia, please take Rias and her peerage to the Gremory Manor. Please tell my parents what we just heard, they will no doubt want to know what has happened. Looks at Rias sadly, especially since she will need all the help she could get. Grafia. Sadden while bowing, yes, of course Lucifer-sama. Curious, what about you? Surziches. Serious, I can sense that both Sona and her peerage are still around, so it's best that I check up on them as well, since they too could have been affected by the demonic presence that Zero released. But I would imagine that Seraphil will appear any minute to see how she is doing, but for the time being, I will need to let her know that Kuo will be under her control for the time being. As well as the fact that I will need to check up on Gasper and see how he is handling it and possibly moving him to the underworld as well. Grafia. Nods, understood. But that being said, Grafia opened up a magic circle large enough for both Rias and her peerage. Once they had left, the Crimson Satan completely fell backwards to one of the couches that were in the room. He then placed both of his hands to his face as he began shed tears of his own, coming down with the fact his poor Riatan may never fully recover from this traumatic experience. Surziches felt something that he hadn't felt since he was just a boy and a soldier during the Devil's Civil War. A few hundred years ago he felt weak, he felt so weak and hopeless that he wasn't there when his sister needed him most. Even though he knew that not even he could be everywhere at once, the feeling of being there for Rias made the strongest devil completely powerless. Surziches. Muffled sobs, I'm sorry Rias, I'm so sorry, I should have been there when you needed me. Breath serious while sniffling a bit, but I promise that you are going to be okay and that Zero is going to pay severely for what he has done. Once Surziches made that declaration, a blue magic circle appeared at the corner of the room, which didn't surprise the Crimson Satan, since he figured that she would come here once she felt his presence. From out of the magic circle came a beautiful girl, looking in her late teens with black hair tied into twin tails and blue eyes. She also has a childlike body, albeit with large breasts. She wore a magical girl's clothing while holding a magic wand. But despite her attire, the girl had a serious and grim concern, because just like the Crimson Satan, she also felt the large amount of demonic energy irradiating in Kuo. Surziches. Serious, I'm glad that you are here, Seraphil. How is Sona and her peerage? This woman was of course Seraphil Leviathan, formerly Seraphil Citri, and she is one of the current 4 Satans, as well as being the strongest female devil. Seraphil. Serious, they are fine for the most part, thank Satan for that. But what was that? I've never felt so much demonic energy before in my life. Hell, even when you were a Juka, get serious, neither of you can release that much energy. Looks around, where's Rias and her peerage? Surziches. Sad, and I had Grafia take them to the underworld because Fasipum's Osera, it's just horrible. Seraphil. Concerned Surziches, what happened to Rias? It was then Surziches went ahead and explained about Kiba told him and Grafia how Rias drugged and manipulated to being cold and distant to both Issei and her peerage. That Zero was going to have Rias kill Issei and take away his boosted gear. He then explained that Zero was actually the son of the late Demon King Mundus, and how it was Issei who was also the son of Sparta that killed Mundus 3 years ago. Issei removed both his and Isa's evil pieces and left somewhere that not even they could find them. When Surziches finished his explanation, Seraphil was both shocked and horrified at what happened to Rias. She also felt horrible for not only her fellow Mau, but also her friends, since if that happened to her younger sister Sona, she wouldn't know what she would do. The magical girl had to give her respect to Surziches for not completely blowing up in a fit of rage, even though she could see in his eyes that he really wanted to and badly. But sadly, whether she wants to or not, she needs to activate her Mau mode and get serious. Since a lot of parts of the underworld are still being repaired from that immense battle to this day. That if the people of the underworld or even the rest of the supernatural found out that the son of Mundus was running amok, it could spell unimaginable chaos and disaster. Seraphil. Serious, I see. Sad, and though I am sorry for what you and your family are about to be going through, do we sadly have a bigger problem on our hands? Surziches. Breaths while wiping the tears away, right, since Zero is not only a threat to just the underworld, but also the entire universe itself. If he somehow becomes more powerful than his father, then we could be looking at an event on an apocalyptic scale. Seraphol. Serious, so what should we do? Surziches. Serious, first things first, we need to keep the information about Mundus having a child under wraps and in a tight circle, since just that information alone could spread worldwide chaos, so we need to make sure that the people of the underworld at the very least do not know about Zero's existence. Secondly, we need to find out where he is and what he is planning. He said that he got the aphrodisiac from a succubus, and currently there is only one succubus that is in Kuo. Seraphol. Serious, Kurumu Kurono, she's a high-class succubus, as well as being the younger sister of possibly the strongest succubus, Morrigan Kurono. She's the daughter of a Jiha. Curious, but wait, wouldn't that make her a part of the new Lilith faction? Surziches. Serious, yes, but I can recall the succubus race lost the most numbers from the last 2 wars and are now near extinction. It could be possible that Zero made a deal with them that they couldn't refuse, taking advantage of their desperation. Seraphol. Serious, true, but I don't think the leaders of the new Lilith faction, especially a Haga of all people, would actually risk making a deal with a demon like Zero, since that would make an enemy out of us. Plus Kurumu is still just a child, so I don't think she would take a deal that would not only be a threat to not only her faction, but also her entire race. Surziches. Serious, be that as it may, she is considered a possible suspect until proven otherwise. I don't like the idea of making false accusations, believe me, especially when it comes to a child. But we cannot rule out any possibilities when Zero Mundus is on the loose. Seraphol. Sighs. Serious, I understand, so what do we do after we interrogate Kurumu? Surziches. Serious, we need to send out a search party. If we are going to win against with Mundus's power, we need someone with the power that killed him in the first place. Seraphol. Eyes widen in realization, you mean? Surziches. Nods. We must find Issei Sparda. Seraphol. Curious, but how are you going to do that? I mean, you told me the letter that Issei left said that not even we could find him. Surziches. Serious, correct, we can't, but since Issei possesses the boosted gear as well as Ddraig's soul, there is one person besides the vanishing dragon that could track him down. I'm going to set up a meeting with Ajuka in hopes she will be willing to cooperate to help find Issei. I only hope that she doesn't kill him immediately as soon as she finds him. Seraphol. Serious, while thinking I see, while a bit of a gamble given her history with Ddraig, she is no doubt our best hope to find Issei, so we could get him to help us. Curious, so while you are setting that up with Ajuka, what do you want me and Falbium to do? Surziches. Serious, return to your sister and tell her that for the time being, she will be in charge of Kuo, since I genuinely don't know the severity that Ria's psyche has gone through. It could be months until she could start being herself again. That she has to call Kurumu in for questioning tomorrow, since we need to know if she was involved with Zero or not. As for Falbium, tell him what I told you, and maybe have some of our forces ready because we don't when Zero may decide to attack us. But he needs to do it discreetly, since we don't want to cause a panic with the citizens. Seraphol. Serious, very well then, good luck Surziches. Surziches. Nods. You as well, Seraphol. But that said, Surziches opened a magic circle that would take him to Ajuka's laboratory, in hopes he could set up a meeting with the person who could help find a now white-haired boy that is also their only hope from saving them from complete annihilation. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.